The Emperor of Rome, the most powerful man on earth, sat alone in his tent on the war front and wrote these words in his private journal. It never ceases to amaze me. We all love ourselves more than other people, but care more about their opinion than our own. Think about that for a second. Marcus Aurelius, commander of the most fearsome military force the world had ever seen. A man who shaped the course of history with a single decree. A philosopher king whose words we still read 2,000 years later. And even he wrestled with this. If the Emperor of Rome felt it, you're not weak for feeling it too. You're human. You know that feeling, don't you? That weight in your chest before you speak up in a meeting. That exhausting conversation you rehearse in your head for hours, explaining yourself, defending yourself, justifying yourself to someone who isn't even in the room. That moment when you change your outfit one more time because somewhere in the back of your mind, you're calculating, what will they think? We all carry invisible chains. Some of us wear them so long we forget they're even there. We mistake them for skin. We build entire lives around them. Careers we don't want, relationships that drain us, opinions we don't believe, dreams we never speak out loud. All because we're terrified. Terrified of judgment. Terrified of rejection. Terrified of that ancient, primal fear. What if they don't accept me? But here's what the Stoics understood 2,000 years ago, what Marcus Aurelius knew in that tent, what Epictetus learned in chains, what Seneca wrote from exile. The chains we forge ourselves are the only ones we can truly break. Not the circumstances, not other people, not the world, you. And today, I'm going to show you exactly how to do it. By the end of this video, you're going to understand why the opinions controlling you have no real power, and how to reclaim the freedom that's been waiting for you all along. This isn't just philosophy. This is liberation. Sorry for the interruption. If this resonated with you, please subscribe and comment your once subscribed. Give me motivation. Let's start. 1. The invisible prison. Let me tell you something you already know, but maybe haven't put into words yet. Every time you shrink yourself to fit someone else's expectations, you're not keeping the peace. You're losing yourself, piece by piece, word by unsaid word, dream by abandoned dream. Every time you silence your truth because you're afraid of judgment, you're making a choice. Their comfort over your freedom, their approval over your authenticity, their temporary opinion over your permanent self. And here's the cruelest part, the part that should make you angry. Most of the people whose opinions you're worried about aren't even thinking about you. They're not lying awake analyzing your choices. They're not gathering in secret councils to discuss your decisions. They're in their own heads, running their own scripts, worried about what you think of them. It's a prison where everyone is both guard and prisoner, and no one has the key because we keep throwing it to each other. Seneca, who served as advisor to Emperor Nero and eventually was forced to take his own life, saw through this illusion completely. He wrote, "We suffer more often in imagination than in reality." Read that again. Let's sink in. Most of the judgment you fear doesn't exist. It's a ghost, a shadow you're running from. You've built an entire life around avoiding criticism that was never even spoken. You've murdered dreams to escape execution that was never scheduled. You're imprisoned by phantoms. Think about the last time you didn't do something because you were worried about what they would think. Who are they? Name them. Seriously, stop and name them right now. Can you? Or is it just this vague, faceless crowd of disapproval that lives in your imagination? Most of the time, they don't have faces because they don't exist. And even when they do, even when there are real people whose judgment you fear, ask yourself this. Are they living the life you want? Have they walked your path, felt your pain, dreamed your dreams, fought your battles? Then why? Why? Are you giving them the pen to write your story? 2. The evolutionary trap. But let's go deeper, because I don't want you to think this is about weakness. It's not. Why do we care so much what others think? It's not a character flaw. It's not because you're broken or damaged or less than. It's wiring. It's biology. It's evolution. For thousands of years, for the vast majority of human history, being cast out of the tribe meant death. Exile was a death sentence. Our ancestors who cared what the group thought, who stayed in line, who read social cues and adjusted their behavior, they survived. They passed on their genes. The ones who didn't care, they wandered alone into the wilderness. They didn't make it. Their genes ended. So that voice in your head constantly asking, what will they think? That's not weakness. That's an ancient survival mechanism. It kept your bloodline alive for 10,000 generations. Respect it, understand it, but don't obey it anymore. Because here's the thing, here's what changes everything. You don't live in that world anymore. You're not going to starve because someone doesn't like your opinion. You're not going to freeze to death because you disappointed your coworker. You're not going to be eaten by wolves because you set a boundary with your mother. The stakes your nervous system is reacting to don't exist anymore. Your body is trying to protect you from a threat that died 10,000 years ago. This is where Stoicism becomes medicine. Epictetus, who was born a slave, who spent his youth in literal chains, who had his leg broken by a cruel master and walked with a limp for the rest of his life, eventually gained his freedom and became one of history's greatest philosophers. And this man, who knew real chains, who understood real powerlessness, said this: if you want to improve, be content to be thought foolish and stupid. Read that again. A former slave is telling you that freedom, real freedom, begins the moment you stop performing for an audience that doesn't matter. He's saying, be willing to look like a fool. Be willing to be misunderstood. Be willing to be judged. Because that willingness, that courage is the price of authenticity. And authenticity is the only real freedom there is. 3. The mirror of judgment. Now think about the people whose opinions you've been carrying like stones in your pockets. Actually think about them. Picture their faces. How many of them are living the life you want to live? How many of them have built something you admire? How many of them are truly happy, truly free, truly aligned with their own values? I'm going to guess, not many. And here's a truth that might sting, but you need to hear it. The people who judge you the harshest are often the ones doing the least with their own lives. Criticism is cheap. Creation is costly. It takes zero courage to judge. It takes zero risk to criticize. It takes zero vulnerability to tear someone else down from the safety of the sidelines. But to build something, to create, to try, to put yourself out there and risk failure and embarrassment and rejection, that takes everything. People who are busy building their own dreams rarely have time to tear down yours. Think about that. The people whose opinions you're most worried about are usually not the ones creating, building, risking, growing. They're the ones watching, commenting, judging from the comfort of their own inaction. Marcus Aurelius understood this at the deepest level. He wrote, "Everything we hear is an opinion, not a fact. Everything we see is a perspective, not the truth." When someone judges you, they're not seeing you. They're not seeing your context, your history, your struggles, your dreams, your full humanity. They're seeing their own reflection, their own insecurities, their own limitations, their own fears projected onto you. Their opinion is a mirror of them, not a measure of you. Let me say that again because it's one of the most liberating truths you'll ever hear. Their opinion is a mirror of them, not a measure of you. When someone criticizes your ambition, they're revealing their own resignation. When someone mocks your vulnerability, they're showing you their own fear of being seen. When someone judges your unconventional path, they're confessing their own regret about the safe road they took. You're just the screen they're projecting on for what freedom actually looks like. So what does freedom actually look like? because I don't want you to misunderstand this. This isn't about becoming cold. It's not about becoming callous or isolated or arrogant. It's not about pretending you don't care about anything or anyone. The Stoics weren't emotionless robots. That's a misconception. They were deeply human people who loved, who grieved, who felt joy and pain and connection. They just learned to put their energy where it mattered. Freedom isn't not caring. Freedom is caring about the right things. Freedom is knowing the difference between opinions that deserve your attention and noise that deserves your silence. Freedom is hearing criticism and pausing long enough to ask two questions. Is this true? Is this useful? And if the answer to both is no, letting it pass through you like wine through an open window. Not fighting it, not defending against it, just letting it pass. Freedom is living so aligned with your own values, so rooted in your own purpose, so clear about who you are and what you stand for, that external validation becomes optional. Nice when it comes, irrelevant when it doesn't. Imagine that for a second. Really imagine it. Imagine waking up tomorrow and that voice in your head, the one that's always calculating, always measuring, always asking, what will they think? Imagine it just quiets down. What would you do differently? What would you say that you've been holding back? What truth would you finally speak? What boundary would you set? What dream would you pursue? What relationship would you leave or fight for? What risk would you take? What would you create if you weren't afraid of judgment? Who would you become if you stopped performing for an audience that doesn't matter? That version of you already exists. They're not some distant future possibility. They're inside you right now, fully formed, just waiting for you to stop asking permission, waiting for you to stop explaining yourself, waiting for you to stop shrinking. They're waiting for you to choose yourself. 5. The practice of freedom. Here's where this becomes real. Here's where philosophy becomes practice. I want you to do something this week. Start small. Don't try to revolutionize your entire life overnight. Just do one thing, one single thing that you've been avoiding because you were worried about judgment. Maybe it's wearing something you love but thought was too much. Maybe it's sharing an opinion you've been hiding because it goes against the group consensus. Maybe it's creating something, writing, art, music, a video, a business idea, without asking if it's good enough first. Maybe it's setting a boundary you've been too afraid to set. Saying no when you want to say no. Saying yes when you want to say yes. Just one thing, one small act of sovereignty. And then notice what happens. Not out there, in here, inside you. Notice how the world doesn't end. Notice how the sky doesn't fall. Notice how most people don't even react the way you feared they would. And the ones who do, notice how their reactions reveal more about them than about you. Notice how their discomfort with your authenticity is actually just discomfort with their own lack of it. And most importantly, notice how it feels to choose yourself. Because that feeling, that quiet power that comes from living in alignment with who you actually are, that's what the Stoics were pointing toward. Not arrogance, not isolation, not cruelty or indifference. Sovereignty. The kind of inner freedom that no one can give you and no one can take away. The kind of peace that doesn't depend on approval or validation or perfect circumstances. The kind of strength that comes from knowing who you are and no longer apologizing for it. 6. The final lesson. Here's what I've learned, and what I think the Stoics were trying to tell us across 2,000 years. The people who are meant for you will love you for who you are, not who you pretend to be. Not the edited version, not the people-pleasing performance. You, the real, messy, imperfect, complex, beautiful you. And the ones who don't, they were never your people anyway. That might hurt to hear. You might be thinking of specific people right now. Family members, old friends, colleagues, partners, people whose approval you've been chasing for years. But if someone can only accept a diminished version of you, if they can only love you when you're small and quiet and convenient, then what they love isn't you. It's their comfort. And you're not here to be someone's comfort blanket. You're here to live fully, authentically, freely. Maybe that's the final lesson the Stoics were trying to teach us. Peace doesn't come from being loved by everyone. It never did. It never will. Peace comes from being true to yourself and letting that be enough. So here we are, at the end of this journey and the beginning of yours. Stop carrying opinions that were never meant for you to hold. Stop living in the courtroom of other people's judgments. The jury was always rigged. The verdict was never going to set you free. You were never meant to live someone else's version of your life. You were never meant to perform and shrink and apologize and explain. The freedom you're searching for isn't out there. It's not in the approval you haven't gotten yet. It's not waiting for you to become perfect enough, successful enough, beautiful enough, acceptable enough. It's here, right now, in this moment, in the decision to stop performing and start living, in the choice to honor your own voice over the crowd's noise, in the courage to be misunderstood rather than accepted for being someone you're not. Marcus Aurelius wrote one more thing I want to leave you with. He said, "You have power over your mind, not outside events. Realize this, and you will find strength. The opinions of others are outside events. You don't control them. You never did. You never will. But your response, your choice, your freedom, that's yours. Completely yours." So here's my question for you, and I really want you to answer this. Not for me, for you. What's the one thing you've been avoiding this week because you're worried about what people will think? Name it in the comments below, because naming it is the first step to killing it. And if you're ready to keep building this inner freedom one Stoic lesson at a time, subscribe to this channel. Every single video is another key to the chains you've been carrying. This is just the beginning. Stay strong, stay free, and I'll see you in the next one.